So today, again, something slightly different. I've promised you all a while back that I will show you how I do an air layer. So today that's exactly what I'm going to try and show you as best I can with the equipment that I've got. So I'm going to be air layering the beech, the one you saw in a slightly previous video. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, what air layering basically means is to take a part off a tree and turn it into another tree. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to spin you around and show you what we're working with. So yeah, this is the tree we're going to be working on today. This is my new beech tree. We're going to be air layering it from about here. So yeah, I'm going to take you in and have a closer look. Well, there we go, as close as I can get you in. So as you can see, I said in my previous video, this particular branch here, very small one, I've wired in to be the new leader. I want it obviously facing upwards, and then I've got the top of that branch going up here. So the plan is to air layer it above that, because that's going to be the new leader for the bottom tree. So what will happen is, once the air layer is complete, I will cut it here. Move that branch out of the way. Where are we? There. I'll be cutting it here so that the new leader is at the very apex of the tree, and then hopefully I'm going to get it to root from here, and then just cut the little stump off in between so it can fit in a pot. But yeah, basically I want it to root from around here, so then this section up here is a new tree. And as you can see there, that's quite a nice canopy and an unusual looking tree up there. So that's the plan. So without further ado, let's make a start. Right, things you might need for this. You're definitely going to need a knife, that is a 100%, but you may need some shears if there's any branches in the way of where you need to air layer, which there are on mine, so I'll be snipping off a few branches. You don't necessarily need a pair of concave cutters. I'm just going to be using them to get in nice and deep, and I'll show you what they're used for shortly. Some rooting powder to help make things go quicker, and then the last thing you'll need is a strong thin piece of polythene. You will also need some wire, which we will get in a momento, and you will also need some sphagnum moss, which I have in a bag down here. Right, so as I said, job number one, I want to be rooting, trying to get it to root around this section here. As you can see, I've got a branch here, that's going to be in the way. I've got a branch here, that's going to be in the way, and I believe, to be honest, that's not going to be part of the new composition anyway, this bigger branch at the back there, because it's going to be too low down to where the roots are. So that can go as well and just gets it out of the way. So first off, we come in with the old snips. Get the old shears in there and take away the branches we don't need. So that's removed all the branches we don't need. Now, the reason I've got the concave cutters myself, as I say, you can use a sharp knife, or you can just keep using the shears and chop it back, but the concave cutters, what they do is they get right into the trunk and take off that bit of branch so it's nice and flush with the trunk. Like so. So that's all ready to go. Next thing you need is your sharp knife. Now this is an old kitchen knife, but I've been using this one in the garden now for the last 10-15 years. So what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to try and move my new leader out of the way. I should have done this after I airlayered it, really. Just take that bit of wire off and pop it back out of the way. Hang that on there so I don't lose it. Yeah. Now, so I want it to root around this section. So what we then basically do is we create a point. And what I'm doing here is drawing the knife around the bark and making a complete circle all the way around, just with all these branches. Sometimes it's difficult to get in, get a nice clean cut. So we will get there. Once you've cut all the way around the bark in a full circle, what you then do is about an inch above, you want to do the same thing again. So I've just, I don't know if you can quite see it on the camera there, but I've just cut a line on this side around there, and now I'm going to do the same about an inch above around there. And once I've got them lines all the way around the whole tree, I will snap back to you. Yeah, so while I was cutting that, doorbell went and just received a delivery, which is kind of perfect for this video, to be honest. So I'm going to find it in that box somewhere and come back to you. And that's what come out of that humongous box. A new little bonsai. This is a cascading type. It is a Chinese juniper, although the seller didn't specify exactly which one it is. But yeah, you can still, it's a relatively young tree, you can still see some of the spiky young type leaves, and then you've got the more mature spindles at the end there. So these spiky bits eventually will turn into more that type. And that's generally what happens with these type of junipers. But yeah, you can see there, let's get you a side angle shot. It's cascading down the pot, and then it's got a little bit of tree at the top there. Now the reason I said this was kind of ideal for this type of video, I bought this with intentions to not have it as a cascading tree. My intentions are to again air layer it here. Now junipers are really easy to air layer, so we might have another look at this later on in the future, but yeah, I'm going to air layer this off here. That's then going to become another normal vertical upright tree, and then this tree will then be that bit there. That's the plan. So 2 trees for the price of 1. But yeah, anyway, let's crack on with the air layering we're actually doing today. So here we are back at the tree. So once you've made your 2 ring lines around, I don't know if you can quite see where mine are from there, but I've got one here and one here, so about an inch apart. What we then want to do is, what the aim of that was just to cut off the bark. So what we then do is from one of the lines to the other, I'm going to go top to bottom because it's easier. Again, we want to cut through just the bark, and the idea is then we then start to try and peel the bark away. So with you again using your sharp knife. Depending on the type of tree, some trees it peels away really easy, and other trees are a bit fiddly. As you can see there, that the bark's now starting to come away. So what I'm going to do is spend the next 10-15 minutes just peeling this bark off. Might be easier to do it this side, and then once all the bark's off, we'll come back to you. Oh, there we go. As you can see, I've now peeled off all the bark. What we then want to do, there's a layer in between the bark and the actual tree trunk itself, which, if memory serves me correctly, is called the cambium layer. And what you want to do is just using the flat of the knife, just gently, and I mean gently, just scrape away at it. And what this basically is, this is the almost like the veins of the tree. Shall we say, it's what takes the water from the roots up to the very tip of the top of the trunk. And what you want to do is just sabotage it ever so slightly, basically. What happens by doing this, the tree, like everything in life, doesn't want to die. So if it can't draw up water from the roots, it sends out new roots to look for new water. And that is basically the premise of air layering. There we go, that's all now scraped off. So next thing we do is we start preparing the bag and the sphagnum moss. If you give me a second, I'll start preparing that. Alright, so I've got everything all prepared, ready to go. The sphagnum moss is currently soaking in water. I've got my wire and my bag down on the bench for me now. But before we do any of that, what I'm going to do is I've got my cheap bog standard rooting powder and a big old brush. And I'm just going to be brushing some onto the tree. Now people would generally think that the roots would come from where you've just cut, and a lot of people think the bottom section, but they actually don't. The roots come from just above it. So there's no harm in getting rooting powder on where you have just cut, but yeah, the roots generally will come from just above where you've stopped the water. So just put a nice coating of rooting powder all around the area. Like so. Got my sphagnum moss all now soaked in water. When people say, how much sphagnum moss do you use? There is no set limit, it all depends on the area that you're working in. If you've got a 4 foot thick trunk, obviously you're going to need a big old bag. If you've got a little tiny tree, then not a lot. So I'm just laying the sphagnum moss in a bit of a line along my bag, so it's not just in one big pile. Just fiddle about with that tad. What we then do is, this is the tricky and the fiddly part. Get the bag and we squeeze the sphagnum moss around the area that we've just root powdered, making sure that the whole area is covered. And then you wrap the bag You can use string, some cable ties being used, but as I do a lot of gardening stuff and a lot of bonsai work, I've generally got bonsai wire and general garden wire to hand as regular. Nice and tight. Now this is the key, it does need to be nice and tight. Yeah, basically what you're trying to do is create a complete seal within the bag. So you want it very, very tight, and then it's a case of I would use either wire or string for this bit, but you want the bag to be very stable. You don't want it blowing around in the wind. You don't want it to move. But I always coil it up as well the way you wrapped the bag round. Okay, so I'm going to make the first coil at the very bottom as tight as I can get it, making sure to trap all air and moisture that's in the bag, and keep all cold air and whatnot out. Once you're happy and you've got it as tight as you can get it, like so, you then start working your way up the bag to keep the bag nice and stable. That's why I say string or wire is best suited for this part. Just obviously being very careful with the rest of the branches. Once you're to the top, just make sure all your sphagnum moss is in the right position, and the fact that you can again get a nice good seal at the top of the bag. That's the two important parts, getting the seal. If you don't, if it's got holes and gaps and loose and whatnot, that's going to stop it working. So it might have needed a bit of a longer wire, but we'll see. So all the sphagnum moss is now in, not in the way. Again, nice and tight. Bit more wire just to finish that off because it wasn't enough. Give me a second. And there we have it, guys. One bagged up, ready to go, air layered. Now some people do cover it with a black covering. I've never done that before, but yeah, it apparently encourages the roots to grow. But people like Peter Chan, one of the most famous bonsai people in the UK, doesn't. And I've never done it, and I've always been successful so far. And so I've never tried it with a beech tree, so I don't know how good they are at air layering, but we will find out. Some, like if you do it at the right time of year, a juniper can sometimes be ready to be cut within a month or two. Some aces are the same. It really depends on the weather. More than the type of tree, but the type of tree obviously does make a big difference, because some trees just don't air layer whatsoever. But now I've done that, the last thing I'm going to do is just pop this back up to where I wanted to get. That's my new leader. If I want to cut the tree, I'll show you what creating a new leader looks like on a later video. So I've got a few that I've done this year that will look good next year, if that makes sense. But yeah, the idea of the way you cut a tree, it forces the tree to, obviously that then becomes the new leader, and it forces the tree to then start healing and makes it look like it was never cut, if that makes sense. But so to just give you an idea, I did it last year on this little Christmas tree, this spruce, and you'll see here where I've made the cut. Well, you probably won't see because that's the whole idea of it, but if I turn it around you'll see. So the main leader, where are we? The main leader used to be going straight up there, but I bent a side branch facing straight up, and as that starts to heal on the back here where the cut was made, you can see the kind of natural taper that it's sort of made. And as I say, from the front, once that's all healed up, that will be the new leader. Well, it is the new leader of the tree, but that'll be the new apex. And you'll never know there was ever a cut made in a good few years, and that's the idea. It gives it a natural taper, and you can keep growing your trees to thickening up the trunks, and then chopping back a bit again to keeping them to the size you want. Well, and that's it, guys. That's your lot. So that's how I do an air layer on, well, apparently on a beech. Never done it on a beech before, but that's the same principle as I air layered, which you saw on an earlier video up on the neighbour's oak tree. I don't know if you can see it there. Let me zoom you in a bit. Yeah, got a bag up there. It's a big branch. That's, for those of you that didn't see that video, for all the new members, that branch is proper overhanging my garden by about 8 foot. So I thought, rather than just chop it off, let's give it a go and see if I can get a little olive tree out of it. But yeah, the rest of the garden is looking really well, as you can tell. So yeah, I have also got these recently. Let me spin you around again. Yeah, I've got these recently, which they're little air layering pods. How good they'll be, I don't know, because I don't really know how I'm going to seal at the top and the bottom. But, I'm going to see if they'll work. I'll find a little tree or a branch in the garden that I know that can be air layered. I'm not going to test these on my two nice junipers that I've got, but maybe take a bit off one of the acers or something, because I know they air layer very easily. But the principle on these is they unfold. You do the same principle that we did, remove the bark and then scratch off the cambium layer, and then you put your either sphagnum moss or soil concentrate, whatever you want, in there, and then clip that around the branch. So it's a good idea in principle, but as I say, the thing that makes it work the most is by being able to give it a good seal at the top and bottom, which, unless you've got the perfect size branch that's going to clip round, that's going to be very difficult. So I'll have to find something, as I say, to try and seal that up, maybe a bit of blue tack or something. But yeah, so that's how to air layer. Hopefully in a few months we'll be able to see some roots starting to grow and see the progress basically, and then hopefully by the end of the summer, so not too sure on beeches. If this was a juniper or a acer, I know full well by the end of this summer I'll be able to cut that off and that would be a new tree. But we'll see. If anybody watching this video has ever air layered a beech, if you could let me know, that would be great. If anybody has any questions or would like to see any other gardening tips and tricks, or bonsai tips and tricks, again, drop me a comment down below and I will see what I can do. But yeah, on that note guys, thanks all for watching. Like the video if you haven't already, and we will catch you all on the next one.